All right, so we have learned about domain and range already. So just as a quick review, we know that domain means the x values of the function and range means the y values. And we learned yesterday about how when you're doing it on a graph, if one of the points is an open circle, so it looks like this, kind of, then that means you're going to leave the symbol alone. You just leave it as less than, you don't change it. And if it's a closed circle, so it's a circle and it's colored in, then your symbol, you got to put an extra line underneath. But today we're going to learn about, well, what if the endpoints aren't actually points? Well, what if the point on the end is actually an arrow? So on your graph, you have a graph like this, and one of them is a point and the other one is an arrow. What happens when it's an arrow? What are you supposed to do? Okay, so if it's an arrow, instead of adding like an extra line or leaving it alone, what you're gonna do is you're gonna cross out. This is ugly writing. Okay, so you're gonna cross out. Okay, so when we're doing domain and range, we know we're going like this. Oh. So instead of changing the symbol, you're just going to cross the whole thing out, because that means that it keeps going. It doesn't actually stop there just because they stopped drawing the line, okay? So yeah, you cross out if there's an arrow. If both of the sides cross out, so like if this side crossed out and the other side crossed out, then what you're going to write is all real numbers. Because that means your graph is on all of the numbers that there are, not just on this certain section of numbers. Okay? And the last thing before we get to an example is if the right side crosses out. So when I say the right side, I'm talking about this side over here. If this side gets crossed out, then you need to rewrite your inequality. So we're going to show, oh, let's pretend on a random graph. So like on this graph, let's say that's at -6. Great. -6. And this side, oh, it was an arrow. So that's going to get crossed off. Okay. So if that gets crossed off, you need to rewrite it, because the STAR test does not like when the number comes before the letter. Because we want to say, oh, the domain, the X numbers are either less or greater than this number. Okay. So what you're going to do is you're going to flip it. Flip it. So what that means is you're going to write the letter first and the number second. Now, since you changed the order of the letters and the numbers, you also need to flip the symbol in the middle, because before you rewrote it up here, the little mouth was opening to X. And so when you write it down here, the little mouth still needs to be opening to X. So if it's opening to X, I'm not still going to write it this way, because then the mouth's opening to the 6. We don't want to do that. We want it to open to the X. So now I'm going to flip it and it's going to open this way. So now we're going to say, oh, the domain, the X numbers are all greater than -6. And this would be your domain. So let's see how this works out in a real question. So it says write the domain and range for each graph. I still start the same way. I'm still going to draw my box around my graph. So here's my graph, and this is the box that I would draw. Beautiful. Okay. And I know when I'm writing my domain, that means it's something less than X less than something. Great. So now all I need to do is fill in the blanks. So we know the first number comes from the left, second number comes from the right. This is exactly the same as we just learned it. So here's left and right. And I see that the X number on the left is at -4. So we're going to fill that in, -4. Is this down here, is that an open or closed circle? It's open. Open. So I'm going to leave this symbol alone stays like that. On the right, I see that the number is at negative or positive 2. But I see that the point that's actually touching it, is it a point at all? No, it's an arrow. So if it's an arrow, what does that mean I'm supposed to do? Well, we just learned that means you're going to cross this out. So goodbye. You're not there anymore. So if I cross something out, I need to decide, am I supposed to rewrite this, or can I leave it how it is? How do I know if I'm supposed to rewrite it? Well, is the number written first or is the letter written first? Oh, the number's written first, so that means I have to flip it. That's what we just learned. So when I'm flipping it, I'm putting -4 is going to go over here. X is going to go over here. And I need to flip my symbol. So I still need the mouth to open to X. And so this is my domain, X greater than -4. That's my domain. Okay. For my range, I know it's still blank less than Y less than blank. Okay. And we know that the first number comes from the bottom and the second number comes from the top, which we know that's here and here on our graph. So the number on the bottom, I'm looking, what is the Y number on the bottom? Well, I can see that it's a -1. So I'm going to put -1. And that point is still open. So I'm still going to leave the symbol alone. My number on top, I can see, is +5. And it's an arrow. So what happens when it's an arrow? We just learned, cross it off. And now I need to decide, am I supposed to rewrite this because the number was written first, or can I leave it alone? So I'm looking, well, what was written first was -1. So I need to flip it. So I'm going to rewrite, number goes second, letter goes first. Do I flip my symbol or do I keep it? I need to flip it. And then this is my answer. So my range was the numbers greater than -1. Go ahead and watch the next video for more examples.